The most dangerous game in the world isn't played on a field. It's played inside a locked room or inside a locked bathroom, a place where the lights are turned off. There's only one candle and a mirror, and there's a name you have to say 3 times. But there's one rule about this game that nobody knows. Everyone thinks she comes for the person who says her name incorrectly, but that's not who she takes. She takes the person who is watching her. Guys, today's story is about a family. A mother, a father, and their 3 daughters, who moved into an old mansion in Ooty to start a new life. 3 months later, that family had become a family of only 4. But before we begin, subscribe to this channel for more horror and mystery stories. Ooty, the Nilgirai Hills, about 7,200 feet above sea level. The most terrifying thing about this place isn't the weather. It's the fog. By 4 p.m., the entire valley disappears beneath a white blanket. You can't even see the trees across the road. The headlights of your car disappear into the fog just a few feet ahead. And the thousands of neatly trimmed tea bushes, which look bright green during the day, turn into nothing but black lines in the evening. And somewhere inside this fog, on a small road leading toward Fern Hill, stood a mansion built in 1902. Its name was Mistcraft. Stone walls, sloping wooden roofs, a chimney, and huge trees surrounding the property, beneath which the grass never seemed to dry. But there was one strange thing about this mansion. There were 27 mirrors inside. 27. There was an old mirror in every room, in every corridor, at the turn of the staircase, inside the bathrooms, everywhere. It almost seemed like someone had deliberately placed them there. And for the past 60 years, not a single one had been removed. Vikram and Aradhya moved into the mansion with their 3 daughters. Meher, 25, Naya, 22, and Avni, 16. Meher had always loved making reels, and she almost always dragged Naya into them. Naya was her younger sister, so she usually went along with whatever Meher wanted. Avni, however, was different. She was quiet and depressed because she had lost touch with all of her friends. Before moving here, the family had lived in Bangalore. Vikram worked as an architect. Aradhya was a schoolteacher. But Vikram had an idea. He would buy a mansion in Ooty, turn it into a homestay, and eventually, none of them would have to work another job. 2 weeks after moving in, Aradhya was in the kitchen. Avni was upstairs, playing alone in her room. Then Aradhya heard her laughing. She kept hearing it, so she went upstairs. Avni was sitting in front of the large mirror in her room, talking to someone. Avni, who are you talking to? Avni turned around and smiled. Mary Auntie. Aradhya stopped. Who's Mary Auntie? Avni pointed toward the mirror. She lives in there. Then she said something that made Aradhya's blood run cold. She didn't want to be alone. She said if you call her name 3 times, she'll come out. Aradhya immediately rushed over and grabbed Avni by the face. Don't say things like that, sweetheart. But Avni looked completely calm. Mom, why are you yelling at her? She's very lonely. No one let her out when she was a little girl. That night, Aradhya told Vikram everything. And Vikram gave the exact explanation any practical person would. Arju, she's 16. She's in a new house. She doesn't have any friends yet. She probably made up an imaginary friend. It's normal. Just Google it. Then came that night. Rain was pouring outside. The fog was so thick that nothing could be seen through the windows. The power went out. In Ooty, that wasn't unusual. Vikram went downstairs to check the generator. Aradhya was putting Avni to bed because she was still shaken from what had happened earlier. Meanwhile, upstairs, Meher and Naya entered the bathroom carrying a candle. Meher pulled out her phone. Naya, this video is going viral. Trust me. Naya looked nervous. Didi, Mom told us not to. Meher laughed. What does Mom know? It's just a game. People all over the world play it. She turned on the camera. Come on. Stand in front of the mirror. I'm recording. Naya hesitated. You say it. Meher smiled. If I say it, who's going to record the video? I'll watch. Naya nodded. She was happy that her older sister was including her in everything. The candle flame flickered. Naya stared into her own eyes in the mirror. Bloody Mary. Nothing happened. The rain outside grew louder. Naya's voice trembled. Bloody Mary. 3 seconds passed. Nothing. The sisters looked at each other and started laughing. Naya finally relaxed. Meher lowered the phone to stop recording. But the front camera was still on. And on that tiny screen, behind Naya, a woman was standing. Half of her face was burned. Her hair was soaking wet. And she wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking directly at Meher. At that exact moment, something slammed its hand against the mirror from the inside. Bang! The mirror shattered. The candle went out. And in the darkness, only Naya's scream could be heard. Vikram kicked the door open. The bathroom was completely empty. The mirror was shattered. And on the broken pieces of glass, there was a handprint. From the inside. Over the next 2 days, Meher began to change. She stopped eating. She avoided walking past mirrors. And one night, she went into her parents' bedroom and started crying like a little child. Mom! She's watching me. Vikram held her hand. Sweetheart, it was a broken mirror. You both saw things because of the candlelight. It was probably just your imagination. Dad's here. Trust me. But Meher shook her head. Dad, you don't understand. Naya said the name. But she isn't watching Naya. She's watching me. Every night. She just watches me. Aradhya went completely silent. Because there was one thing about this that didn't make sense. That night, Aradhya went to the house at the end of the street. An elderly woman named Miss Agnes de Cruz had lived there for decades. Aradhya hoped she might know what was happening inside their mansion. Agnes made her a cup of tea. And before Aradhya could even ask anything, Agnes said, You moved into Mistcraft, didn't you? Then I already know why you're here. Sit down. I'll tell you. Then Agnes told her the truth. It happened in 1961. There was a convent school in Ooty. A 12-year-old Anglo-Indian girl named Mary Fernandez lived at Mistcraft with her uncle. She was a boarding student at the school. Some girls used to bully her. One evening, they decided to play a game. They locked Mary inside the oldest bathroom in the school. It was completely dark. There was a huge mirror inside. The girls stood outside the door and called her name. Come on, Mary. Say your name 3 times. Then we'll open the door. From inside, Mary answered. Once, twice, 3 times. That evening, Christmas vacation began. The entire boarding school emptied out. The girls went home. And for 4 whole days, nobody remembered that they had locked Mary inside that bathroom. Agnes' voice broke. I joined that school as a new teacher in 1961. I was the class teacher of those girls. And that is the biggest regret of my entire life. Aradhya asked. Then why is Mary in Mistcraft? Agnes looked at her. Because after Mary died, her uncle placed a mirror in every room of that house. Every room. So that if she ever returned, she would never find a locked door. Then Agnes leaned closer. Listen carefully. Mary isn't angry with the girls who called her name. She's angry with the girls who stood outside and watched. She doesn't take the ones who speak. She takes the ones who watch. Vikram still didn't believe it. The next day he took the entire family out to clear their minds. The fog over Ooty was lighter. The lake was completely still. The mountains reflected perfectly in the water. All 5 of them sat together in a paddle boat. Avni leaned over the side and looked into the water. She laughed. Mom! Mary Auntie came too. Meher suddenly pulled back. Avni, sit inside. Vikram looked down at the water. The surface was perfectly still. He could see the reflection of their boat. But in the reflection, there were 6 people. 6. And beneath the water, right beside the boat, a face slowly floated upward. Its eyes were wide open. It reached the surface and stopped, staring directly at Meher. The boat suddenly tilted. Vikram screamed. Avni clapped happily. Auntie, hello! And then, the water became completely normal again. That evening, Vikram came home carrying a hammer. And he smashed every single one of the mansion's 27 mirrors. He didn't leave a single one. Aradhya stood in the doorway and said quietly, "Vikram, you're only breaking the mirrors. The mirror isn't her way in. That's not how she gets here." That night, Vikram made a decision. They were leaving. At 11 p.m., he loaded their belongings into the car. The entire family left the mansion and started driving toward Coonoor. And what happened next was the most terrifying moment of the entire story. The mountain road was surrounded by cliffs on both sides. The fog was so thick that the headlights created a white wall just 5 feet ahead. The windshield wipers kept moving. Nobody spoke. The 3 girls sat in the back. Meher was pressed against the window. Avni was sitting in the middle. Naya was beside her. Vikram looked into the rearview mirror. "Everything okay back there?" He counted his daughters. 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 4 girls sitting in the back seat. Between Meher and Naya, right beside Avni, there was another girl. She looked about their age. Her head was lowered. Her hair was wet. Slowly, she raised her head and looked directly into Vikram's eyes through the rearview mirror. Vikram slammed on the brakes. The car slid across the foggy road before finally stopping. He turned around. Only 3 daughters. 3. There was no 4th girl. Avni calmly looked at him and said, "Dad, you can't leave Auntie behind." That night, the family ended up back at Mistcraft. There had been a landslide on the mountain road. The route was completely blocked. They had no choice but to return. That night, Aradhya did what anyone might have done in her situation. She locked Meher inside a room and kept the key with herself. Then she took Naya upstairs to the broken bathroom. She lit a candle and placed the largest piece of the broken mirror against the wall. Naya started crying. "Mom, I won't do it again. Please." Aradhya held her daughter's face. "One last time. This time you'll speak. And I'll watch." Naya shook her head. "Mom, no." Aradhya's voice remained completely calm. "Naya, listen to me. She doesn't do anything to the person who speaks. She takes the person who watches. And I'm not going to let your sister go." Naya trembled as she stood in front of the mirror. Aradhya stood directly behind her. "Come on, sweetheart. Say it." Naya stared into the broken mirror. "Bloody Mary." The candle flame suddenly grew tall. She said it again. "Bloody Mary." Every window in the house began shaking at the same time. Tears rolled down Naya's face. And finally, she said it a 3rd time. "Bloody Mary." And then, the reflection of Aradhya in the broken mirror started smiling. But the real Aradhya wasn't smiling. The reflection slowly raised its hand. And from inside the glass, a finger emerged, touched Naya's shoulder. Every light in the house exploded at once. The candle went out. And in the darkness, a woman whispered, "Now the door is open." Vikram came running upstairs. When he entered the bathroom, only Naya was there, crying, alone. Aradhya was gone. The police searched for her for 3 months. Ooty Lake, the forests, the tea plantations. Nothing. Eventually, the case was recorded as a missing person case, presumed dead because of a possible landslide. Vikram sold Mistcraft. He took his 3 daughters and moved back to Bangalore. A new apartment, a new school, a new life. And in that new apartment, Vikram didn't install a single mirror. Not one. But Avni didn't need one. Because 6 months later, one night Vikram found Avni sitting inside the bathroom. In complete darkness. There was no mirror. She was simply staring at the wet tiles and smiling. Vikram asked, "Sweetheart, what are you doing?" Avni turned around. "I'm talking to Mom." Vikram froze. "She comes every day. She just tells me. Stop looking for her." So guys, there's one thing I want to say at the end of this story. The ghost never actually wanted revenge. She was a 12-year-old girl who had been locked inside a room by a group of girls, while the others stood outside and watched. She wasn't angry with the people who called her name. She was angry with the people who stood there and treated her suffering like entertainment. And when her soul became trapped inside that mirror, other spirits began to appear too. Spirits of people who had suffered the same kind of fate. That's why there wasn't just one spirit inside that house. There was the spirit of an older woman, the spirit of a 12-year-old girl, and many others. And one last question. Do you think what Aradhya did was right or wrong? Let me know in the comments.